Obviously, your ability to save is going to be a very big key. And if you're saving now, understand this, to buy a home. It's very important for me, in most cases, to know how you save the money, where the money came from. Why? As a lender, sometimes I think evil. I think if you know how to play the game, you're going to go out, borrow money from a friend or borrow money from a source out there, throw it in the bank and say, the money's mine, I saved it. So I'm going to want to trail sometimes. I'm going to want to know where that money came from. If I see a very large deposit over a period of time, I might come back and say, where did you get that money? Where did the money come from? The fact that it's in the bank doesn't mean I'm going to accept it. Here's a rule for you, just so you know how lenders think. Borrowing money unsecured, as in a note or a credit card, in other words, borrowing against your credit card, that is an unacceptable source of down payment for a lot of lenders. Oh yes, it matters. If I find out that you borrowed money off a credit card to come up for the down and you come to me for a loan, that's unacceptable to me if I can verify that that's what happened. Sometimes it's a big if, but believe me, as a lender, you can imagine I try really hard sometimes to verify. If I see a huge deposit and I ask you to verify where the money came from, in some cases you're not going to be able to write me a letter and say, oh, well, gee, I came within a windfall and I got the money. If you tell me that, I'm going to come back and say, oh, well, get me a copy of that check to verify that windfall or that bonus you got from your employer. And if you can't document it, guess what happens to the loan? I'm going to deny it. Paper trail as you save. One of the biggest things you can do for that down payment, one of the biggest things you can do is prove to me that you have an ability to save the money. Sometimes then I'm willing to forego a little bit marginal credit. I'm willing to look at a little bit higher outgo on your payment because we have guidelines we have to adhere to. Keep that in mind. It can be very important. Creatively also understand this. If you want to avoid me, equity is very important. Sometimes you can go directly, and this is the creative stuff that these people sometimes try to make you pay big money to understand. If you own a home right now and you want to sell it to someone, and sometimes that existing loan as the seller of the property is assumable, what if you had the ability to go in and you wanted to buy the property from me, okay? I could come into you and say, listen, assume the existing loan that's in place on the property. Write me out a check for $2,000. Follow me on this. I'm going to put another loan against the property behind that other bank loan. And you're going to pay that loan that I had. You're going to pay on the that second loan, the money I didn't make. And then you're going to give me $2,000 cash. Did you really qualify for a loan? No, you didn't. You actually got into a property for even less of a down payment than what I told you about. You see how down payment can be very important? And also, what is the seller's motivation and how the seller is thinking in terms of thinking creatively and getting into a home? All this can help you avoid me or utilize what I'm telling you in terms of getting into a property. These are some of the games that are played. We've got more to talk about though, because that seller scenario where you avoid me can get you into trouble too if you don't know how you're doing.